Okay, we're good. Hello everyone, this is my first ever YouTube video as Daniel.plumridge.languages. There was another project, COVID-19 project, but we don't talk about that.
Oh, YouTube, please subscribe.
So it has been one month, just over, since I joined the platform italki. I was doing research into what platforms to join, and italki kind of came up as one of them. But I also met a really nice guy called Stefano Swigo, who's a well-known polyglot in the kind of polyglot world. He goes regularly to conferences, but this was a small language conference in Berlin back in November. He said that he teaches on italki, and I thought, okay, I've seen italki before. I'd like to try it. And the more I kind of dived into the platform, the more I realized how set up for language learners and teachers it really is. Years ago, I'd tried other platforms that were for tutors, and that was for every subject under the sun. I just didn't feel motivated to do it or try and push myself out there on the platform. But then italki just felt like the offer of teachers out there, the way the platform is set up, the just huge variety of languages that you can actually learn with real qualified teachers, I think just really kind of made me feel encouraged. I'm not alone. There's platforms out there that are genuinely about bridging the gap between teachers and learners. Before I go into my general takeaways and things that I've learned, I just want to show you guys the platform and what it looks like for a teacher. Let's get into it. All right, so I've logged into italki. Here we are already on my student profile. One of the coolest things that italki has is this ability to just switch between being a student and being a teacher. I think that's one of the main things that I like about italki is that they're a language learning only focused platform. There are a lot of platforms out there that are general tutor hosting platforms. italki is a languages only. So let's go on the teacher role. After a month, you can see that I've made some earnings. I do have 2 students now. A nice little reminder, just in case you forget, is upcoming lessons. I have one here. Yeah, and then we have the option to do instant lesson. I think if you're a teacher that has a lot of time, you can open up your calendar for teaching and you can say to yourself, I'm not doing anything in that time apart from sitting around waiting for new students to come in. And that's where instant lesson is such a really great tool, because it allows students looking at your profile to just book right now. I might give that a go actually in the next couple of weeks, because as we'll see later, I have had quite a few people viewing my profile, and I've had people enter the booking process, but then not booked a lesson. So I think I'll give that a go now after having settled into italki. And then a couple other things. So they have the teacher forum. Not used that yet. I think that's definitely one to get into after maybe 6 months. Then the teacher forum is where you can like chat to other teachers, discuss methods. And then something I have used in the past month is the teacher knowledge base. As I think as a beginner, that is your best friend. Like I check everything in the knowledge base. Moving on to teacher tools, I've also not used that. Being someone who was language coaching before I got into italki, I got used to creating my own materials for my students. I guess if you're not used to doing that, you've never created materials, then it's really nice to have these options to prop you up and help introduce you into materials creation. And then of course, yet another reminder, upcoming lesson. I do kind of like that they have these subtle reminders here and there to just, so you don't get lost in the dashboard. It's nice to just, as you're scrolling through the dashboard, you have a little reminder, oh, again, yeah, upcoming lesson, this is when it starts. Like yeah, I think that's a cool feature. I think that works really well for me personally anyway, as someone who always needs reminding. Another feature which I explored a couple of weeks in, so basically I attended a seminar, and one of the tips that they said was to use this tool, opportunities, and message students, reach out to them. I was hesitant at first because I think some people could take this as a bit pushy, but I decided to give it a go, and I've not had any negative reactions. At the end of the day, if someone is not interested, they won't reply, and that's fine. Moving on to the meatiest section of the dashboard, statistics. And if we look at my numbers after just a month's teaching, I have for April, I have total lesson requests 5, completed lesson 3. That's from my 2 students. So this graph doesn't really help me. Same with my popular lessons. And I think if you're doing serious numbers, like you've done 300 students and you've taught 1,000 plus hours, then this tool is really useful for you. Same again with this, I would say, like students. It's nice to see the amount of students that I have, but it's 2 students and I know them personally. But what is kind of useful, I'd say, is earnings. It's nice to have this figure in front of me and to see how my earnings may have increased. Let's see this then. Your total earnings divided by the number of completed lesson hours in the same month. Still not 100% sure why that's being shown to me. So if anyone who's more experienced on italki, let me know in the comments. This is an interesting little tool that I've kind of got a bit curious about in the last 2 weeks. It is boost your profile. It comes up with these little points. But one thing I found with these points is sometimes they're not massively clear. They can feel a bit vague. So here's the thumbs up and it says your exposure and bookings are below benchmarks. Okay, so that's not a thumbs up. That's supposedly a negative. But you had 1 successful booking day. So it's basically telling me that, okay, although things are slow, you had a day that worked great. So, and then these points are the improvement points, I guess. So student visitors recently came from Hong Kong and Colombia, mostly adults preparing for exams. That's super useful for me because if I was an exam prep teacher, I would immediately update my profile and specify that. And then the second point, longer term visitors added Germany, Chile, France, with diverse learning goals like relationships and work. So I don't really understand why that's being suggested to me. That's kind of what my profile is geared at anyway. I don't really understand how I could change my profile to accommodate for this point. So we have these points here, but then when we click improve profile, it just takes you straight to your profile settings. There's no follow-up from that little yellow box of suggestions. So I think that would be really nice to have. Maybe there's a little window on the left side or a little thing that pops up that says, oh, this is what we're talking about, when we mention this point in the yellow box. Because so far it's with that last point, it's not really clear. It's very vague feedback. So moving on from boosting your profile, I really like this. I have done Instagram in the past for other hobbies and I was monitoring my profile's performance and engagement, and it was super useful to see the time and days. And guess what italki have thought about? That exact point. We have a nice looking graph with some nice, beautiful, pretty colors. 28th of March, so March 28th, we had a grand total of 1 profile view. So starting off slowly, when you hover over it, it's a nice little key to tell you what the different colors correspond to. And we have the lightest one, profile views, video plays, which is nice. For those of you who haven't joined italki yet, when you're a teacher, you have to link a YouTube video or create a new YouTube video to introduce yourself. So I have that on my profile, and this shows me how many plays that video has had on the italki platform. And then the interesting one is booking starts. So that shows me potential students who have gone on my profile, viewed it, and started the lesson booking process. And for whatever reason, they haven't followed through with it. So I think maybe that can come back to my theory about the instant lesson feature. Maybe if I enable that, then those students will follow through with the booking. Or maybe it's just a human factor thing, change of mind, lost internet connection when they were doing it, who knows. And then we have this kind of spike, which is really cool to see. And also really encouraging. It's nice to see movement on your profile. I have to admit, I'm on a couple of other platforms and there's no real features that show you this. And sometimes it can feel like you're just lost in the depths of the algorithm and there's nobody looking at your profile. But I think This is really cool. Like italki is showing you that, hey, we are showing your profile to people, and potential students are engaging with your profile. I mean, here on this day, I got 8 profile views, 4 video plays, and then this is the part that piqued my curiosity, the 2 booking starts, but no new bookings. So I was like, come on, you wanted to book. This part, I have to be honest, personally, I don't really look at. This one's kind of good, like time zones, the different students who have been looking at my profile, what time zones they're in. And so if I look at this and I decide I want to make a change to match that, then I can click here, adjust availability. That will take me to my calendar and I can, make the necessary changes. I think we're coming to the same problem as with the boost your profile. We have this insight here and we have the link to implement that insight. But then when I click on the link, there's no follow-up from that insight. It's just my calendar. I don't know exactly what they mean. So for example, I've got a lot of students who are in China. Okay, adjust my availability. What would be really cool is to have a little window that pops up saying, these are the popular times for people in the Chinese time zones. Whereas in here, it just kind of feels a bit disconnected. It feels like I have this really important insight. I'm encouraged to implement a change, but then I'm kind of left to work it out for myself. Now, for example, I'm going to have to Google different time zones in China and then work out, okay, what times does that come out to now? I don't know what times these people were looking at my profile. I feel like there's improvements to be made on this feature for sure. This is really nice. The different interests people have when they're viewing my profile, especially for when you have a new student and you want to set up the trial lesson. One issue that I had with this language levels, I got a bit confused. My fun colors visual brain had a total disconnect with my rationale maths brain. What I initially thought, and maybe you noticed this too, is I thought, the majority of my students are C1 plus and B2, because I was looking at the color intensity. Like typically on maps, for example, they have the highest population density, and then the darker the color, the higher the population density. And so that's where my brain went when I saw this. So I thought, oh, that's a shame. I have no A1 people looking at my profile. It took me a bit of time to rationalize. So I think what italki could definitely improve here is just change up the color scheme simply. Here, for example, the different colors and interests, we've got yellow, we've got this kind of orangey red, the italki red, we've got the pink, salmon pink, yellow. Literally put these colors in the pie chart. This age feature doesn't really apply to me because I'm an adults only teacher. You can hover over and see, 95% are adults. If you were open to teaching adults, kids, and student age, this would be super useful, because then you can make adjustments to your profile. Here, what's really cool is it says tailor packages. So if I click this, it takes me to my lesson management part of my profile where I create different types of lessons, and say if I notice that, actually there's a really high percentage of university students, people aged between 18 and 21, I could create a special type of lesson. Okay, English for university. This is a really interesting feature, reasons to learn. And these are the different goals that people have. Settling in a new country, that's really nice. That's something I have a lot of personal experience with. I lived in Germany where I knew almost no German and had next to no experience of German culture and just society in general. So I had a lot to learn. So it's nice that there are people who are in the similar boat that I can support. Brain training, Nintendo DS flashbacks, work 25%. Yep, nothing unexpected there. Exams or schools, like I saw earlier with the boost your profile hints. Some people are wanting to prep for exams. So hey, I think that's a potential project for the future. And then of course, hobbies or cultural interests. So it's nice to see that overall I'm catering to the people who are looking at my profile. except a couple of points, you know, like exams or schools like brain training. But this is really cool. It shows you the gaps in your profile. Here we have A1 to B1 students often prefer teachers who speak their languages. There are students who speak a language that you don't speak. Maybe you should learn it yourself. So we have a little clicker here. Aha! And it takes me to my italki student profile. There, that's the teacher dashboard. There are more features. So I have the list of my lessons. I get to also see my students, which is nice to have a little overview. The wallet, which is where all the finances happens. What's nice here is we have a little transaction history too. It also shows up the italki commission. Really nice that you have a transparent view of how that commission works and then how much money you're earning. Yeah, and then the option to view my teacher profile as it appears publicly to would-be students. That's really nice. And then something which I really enjoy, again, as not just a language coach, but always a language learner, I can easily switch to my student profile just with a click of the button, click, and we're in. And then on the student profile, it's the same thing. I just click again, student profile, teacher profile, switch, boom, super easy. I really love that italki. Thank you very much. What's really nice I found when I joined italki is they automatically created my student profile when I signed up as a teacher. So yeah, that's super sweet. And I think, yeah, it encourages everyone to keep learning. And then of course, yeah, the usual calendar, messages, just really important features. Messages is great. It's the way to keep in touch with your students and keep that communication channel open. I have relied on this heavily the whole time. So, my verdict on italki after 1 month. Overall, I'm super happy with the platform. It's clear and easy to use, the color scheme is great, and there are lots of useful tools for teachers to get started with. There are some improvements to be made on the dashboard, as we saw earlier, but I don't feel like any major tool is missing. And now, without further ado, there are 3 things that I have learned after being a teacher for 1 month on italki. Number 3. Experiment. As we saw earlier, italki has a lot of different tools for teachers, so you just have to try them all out and see what works. Yeah, we saw, for example, earlier the instant lesson feature, which I'm going to try out. You have the option to message people who have looked at your profile. There are so many things, so go ahead and just try them all and see what works. Number 2. Engage with the platform. So the usual questions like what are they posting on social media? What are people saying on the teacher forums on italki? But most importantly, are they hosting any seminars? Much of what I discussed in this video has been from things that I've learned in the last italki seminar that I attended a couple of weeks ago. So if you have the time, really do watch the seminars. I'll put a link in the description to the seminar that I attended. It's on YouTube. And number 1, be a student. So of course, this works as your market research. So obviously as a student on the platform, you get to see what other teachers are doing. And then it helps you reflect and think, what's my niche? And then of course, as a student, you can see what are other teachers in that niche doing. But more importantly, being a student in the subject that you're teaching can give you a perspective that you never would have got if you were just teaching it. If you're a student on the platform, then you can experience firsthand what do you find easy, what do you struggle with, what are the things that you enjoy. In my experience, keen learners make the best teachers. So yeah, anyway, this is my first video. Give it a like and a subscribe to my channel. The next video will be my experience as a student on italki. Looking forward to making that and sharing that with you guys. So yeah. There she is. Hello. You want some bread? Tisha butter? Hey, don't go sitting on my furniture now. Bye.